All right. Well, hello. I'm Pat Rice, editor of the News Journal, and I want to thank you for, if you're out there viewing this debate, I want to thank you for doing that. This is the third in a series of candidate debates sponsored by the News Journal. This one is with the three candidates who are running for Volusia County Chair. We're going to get to the debate in a couple minutes, but first just a little bit of background is in order. The News Journal's candidate debates in the past have always included a live audience in the room, but with the COVID pandemic, that's just not possible this year. So instead, we're holding our debates with the smallest number of people possible so we can ensure social distancing for the candidates. The room we're using received a hard clean today. And through Facebook Live, we hope to replace our live audience with an electronic one. And we plan to post video of this debate and all others on YouTube as well, so voters can watch this debate right up to the August 18th primary. Of course, it's always possible that technology will go awry. It tends to happen to me more than most people. Good thing I'm not running the camera. If that occurs, I apologize in advance. But even if that happens, we have you covered because our excellent reporter, Kazmira, is down at the other end of the table, and she's sitting a safe distance from everyone, and she's going to write a story about this debate that will appear online at newsjournalonline.com tomorrow, and then in the next edition of our print newspaper. Just a couple more points about format. First, all of the candidates will have an opportunity to weigh in on all questions. And all candidates will get as close as we can come to the same number of, they'll all get the same number of questions to answer first. And the debate is designed time-wise so that they will all get equal time to answer questions. It'll be up to me as moderator to determine if a question arises that needs more discussion between candidates. If that happens, I'll make that judgment call at the time and give people the amount of time they need to answer whatever they need to do. If not, we'll just go on to the next question. Also, I will introduce each candidate in a moment with a short bio, and then we'll go right into the questions. But after we get done with the questions, in an hour or so, each candidate's going to have 2 minutes for a closing statement. And then we'll be done. And then we'll go home or somewhere. So let's get started with an introduction of the candidates in alphabetical order. Our first candidate is Jeff Brower. Jeff Brower came to Volusia County with his parents at age 3. He talked them into staying, and he's been here ever since. He and his wife Terry have 9 children, is that correct?
That's true.
9 children. Mr. Brower and his family live on and work on a farm in DeLeon, I can never pronounce that. DeLeon Springs. Is that close enough?
That works.
All right. And he also operates a landscaping business. He has a bachelor's degree of science in agriculture and horticulture, and he's a member of the county's Soil and Water Commission. He's also a member of the DeLand and West Volusia Chambers of Commerce. Mr. Brower has been a longtime advocate. Deb Denys, similar story, a little different. She visited with her husband George 30 years ago and decided to make the New Smyrna Beach area their permanent home. She holds a bachelor's degree in business management and administration and has a lengthy career in the insurance and, I think, securities industries. Ms. Denys was a member of the Volusia County School Board from 1994 to 98, and she has been a member of the County Council representing District 3 since 2013. She's been appointed by U.S. Rep. Mike Waltz to the Space Advisory Committee and the Environmental and Water Quality Advisory Committee related to the lagoon system. Ms. Denys, welcome to tonight's debate.
Thank you. It's
You're
good
welcome.
to be here.
And our last candidate, last but not least certainly, is Gerard Witman. Mr. Witman has lived in DeLand for the past several years.
34.
34, more than several. He's older than you, Nigel. He is a retired computer engineer. In the 1970s and 80s, before he lived in Florida, Mr. Witman served for a decade on the Bristol Township School Board in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Mr. Witman and his wife have a daughter and a son. On his Facebook page, Mr. Whitman's son quotes him. I can't quote family members for everyone, but this one was interesting to me. His son quotes Mr. Whitman as saying, "I want people to judge me based on my accomplishments, not the color of my hair." You and me both. So, Mr. Whitman, welcome to tonight's debate.
Thank you.
And, I forgot to ask Ms. Denys, but you have children as well, and I forgot to mention that.
I do, and 12 grandchildren.
And 12 grandchildren.
And 2 Christmas clubs.
All right. Well, there you have it.
There you have it.
All right. So we're going to go to the first question, and we've decided to do this alphabetically. And each person is going to get 90 seconds to address each question. So the first question goes to Mr. Brower, and let's begin. So the position of county chair runs the city council, the county council meetings, basically manages those meetings. Beyond that, the position really doesn't have any a lot of other clearly assigned duties that are greater than those of the other county council members. However, county chair is perceived by many citizens to play a greater overall leadership role in the county. So with that in mind, here's the question. What specific leadership roles have you filled in your life that will make you an effective Volusia County chair?
Well, thank you. That's a great question to start on. When I was, in elementary school, I got a nickname from my family and friends, and that nickname was the Little Ambassador. And I don't tell that story much, but it's been coming up a lot in this campaign. The reason for that is because I've always had a desire to bring people together. I've always had a desire to go to the underdog and make her or him part of the crowd. And so I learned at a really young age that leadership mattered in changing people's lives. When I went to college, I was elected to 2 leadership positions. One for the college that I went to, the department, the horticulture department. I was elected by my peers to lead them. I was also elected to the Florida Nurserymen and Growers Association, whose job it was, I made it our job to find positions for everybody when they graduated. I serve, as you mentioned, I serve on the Volusia County Soil and Water Board, where I've taken on a very specific project of bringing commercial composting to Volusia County to help relieve some of our pollution problems. I serve on several boards in the community. My family, Terry and I, as you mentioned, have 9 children. And is that seconds or minutes?
Seconds.
So we've taught all of our children that they need to be connected to the community and to lead, and we've raised 9 great leaders.
All right, thank you. Ms. Denys, same question.
So what traits do I have as a leader to come to, well, as a county chair, you also set the agenda. So you are in the conference and have the ability to set agenda items. But it is more of an honorary role, and you become the face of Volusia County represented in our community. But as a leader, my past experience, Governor Bush first appointed me chair of the Early Learning Coalition when that for voluntary pre-K, Florida Statute 411 was implemented. And I originally said no. Through multiple times I agreed to serve on the board, and then ended up and he appointed me chair. I served in that volunteer position for 5 years, was reappointed by 2 governors, by Jeb and then Governor Christ. And what we did at that time, we started out with a $28 million budget and a group of nonprofits that had never been monitored ever here in Volusia County. So I had to build an organization from the ground up, and an executive committee and a board, and we did just that and took over the building across from the News Journal Center out on Beachside. That old bank building became the Early Learning Coalition. And we've built an umbrella. We took record numbers of families off that waiting list and cut administration by about minimum 20%. That's what leadership does, and that's just one example. I have chaired the Central Florida Metropolitan Planning Organization just rotated off that. That was 10 counties and 2 DOT districts, chaired the Indian River Lagoon National Estuary Program. That's 5 counties and our water management districts. So I bring a lot to the table as far as experience in representing Volusia as chair.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Whitman, same question to you.
A great question, and I think it speaks to my strengths because I just speak to what I've done here in Volusia County. It's Grand Night, Knights of Columbus, a leadership position. I was chair of the Oktoberfest, St. Peter's Oktoberfest, raises a little over $1 million. I'm sorry, $130,000 to raise funds for education in the community. But my strong experience goes back to when I was Bristol Township School Director. I was elected to the board twice. I initially served as budget chairman, $45 million budget. We had 11 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, and 2 high schools. I think the population of students was 17,000 students. And that was $45 million 35 years ago plus. So the significant budget at the time. Interesting, in that time frame, I was able to hold the budget down for 3 years. We did not increase the budget. I was able to ensure that we did not hurt education in doing so. Even one year when the state voted us more money, I took the leadership role of saying that we do not have to put it back in the budget. We had a good budget on June 30th. It was still a good budget, and I refused to open the budget, and we gave back approximately $300 to each resident of Bristol Township at the time. We were faced with closing schools at the time, and I had to lead the board into doing the right thing and not closing the school that the population generally wanted to.
All right, thank you. And we'll go to our next question, and this one goes to you, Ms. Denys. And I apologize on the front end, but some of my questions are a little long-winded, but you know, you got to have a little bit of a setup. So, a little more than a year ago, Volusia County voters defeated a call for a half-cent sales tax. But now the county and its cities don't really have a clear funding source to pay for what amounts to hundreds of millions of dollars in looming infrastructure concerns.
Yep.
These aren't concerns that are just related to new growth and development. A lot of these concerns are just old infrastructure issues that have been around for decades for some of our cities. Some of it's sidewalks, some of it's streets, some of it's sewer. It's all expensive. Where specifically will the county find the funding for its looming infrastructure needs in the future?
If I could answer that, Pat, we could all go home. we would answer the question of the hour. Let's talk about the house and sales tax a little bit here, because you referred to that in opening this up. So I have been accused of trying to raise taxes by not supporting it, by agreeing to put the house and sales tax initiative on the ballot. And what happens, we are a charter county, and our 16 cities passed resolutions, all of them, and came to the county council and asked us to put that initiative on the ballot. So what council did, 6 of us agreed to put the initiative on the ballot to let the people vote. And we set it up that way, so the misconception, the purposeful misinformation out there is that I was out to raise taxes. That's not what happened. It's a charter form of government. That's what happened. So as far as infrastructure goes, I sit on the TPO, Transportation Planning Organization, and DOT gave us a report a couple months back, and dollars are down even at the state level. Our work program funding, here's our impacts to the work program that DOT gave us. Right-of-way costs, our real estate prices are up 15% statewide. Increased construction costs, price of steel is up 30%. Material and commodity costs up 9%. Fabricated bridges 25%. And our revenue, this is at the state, is reduced due to growth of fuel-efficient vehicles, and bills that were passed at the state in 2018 reduced our revenue by $71.2 million. And that includes our sales tax, property tax, corporate tax, and dock stamp. So it's a real issue with multiple layers that can't be answered quickly. It's a very difficult issue. We have to continue the discussion.
Okay. Mr. Whitman, same question.
Again, I'll go back to the brief mention that I was budget chairman on the $45 million budget 34 years ago. And I was able to find things in that budget that didn't have to be done. That's not saying that it was things that could have been used and were needed, but we didn't want to raise taxes. I was elected not to raise taxes, and so my belief is that I can go into budget and I'll bring things to the council that will question whether these are things we need to do or not. I think we'll have to delve into it, and I agree that it's not an easy answer, but the fact is we have to, as a council, and the guidance of the chair, to come in and explain what I've been able to find by my resources and my numbers ability, and present the council things that we might want to change or not do at this time. And then there's always looking for federal funds. There are other funds and state funds. The question comes up, are they city issues? Who we can work with to get these things done. But I think it will take delving into the budget and seeing what we can do with the budget.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Brower, same question to you.
I think that's a great question to start on. It's one of the main reasons that I decided to run for Volusia County Chair. I led with a small group of about 5 other Volusia County residents. I led the battle against raising our taxes. And the reason I did that is because I've lived here my whole life. I've watched the history. We knew what was going to happen. What happens with our tax dollars is that instead of spending our infrastructure dollars on our current neighborhoods and on upgrading the infrastructure that we struggle with every day, we're sending it to the outskirts of town to build massive new developments, all with new infrastructure. All of that infrastructure becomes liability that then we have to maintain that infrastructure. So we keep adding to this list of maintenance that we can't keep up with now. And so I decided that we needed a pause. I'm in business. When you need money for something, there's 2 things you can do. You can raise sales, and you can be more efficient and cut expenses. In government, doesn't seem to be thought of. In government, it's how can we get more money? How can we squeeze a turnip a little bit more? The people are tired of being squeezed. We're one of the highest tax counties in the state of Florida. We need to give the people a break, especially now after COVID-19, when yes, the tax receipts are down. We have a certain amount of money with gas tax, with impact fees. That's another problem. We need to look at that money, and I'll talk more about it as we go on tonight.
Okay. I know it's a complex question, and I feel like all of you, it's a little unfair to say answer it in 90 seconds, because it'd probably take you 90 minutes. But and then you'd have to get together and talk some more. But
Yeah.
Let's go to the next question, and this one goes to you, Mr. Witman. Again, a little bit long-winded to start, but if you bear with me. And I asked this last night in a very similar way, but I moved here a little over 10 years ago, and we were in the throes of a great recession. Just about everybody I talked to could not, were hopeful that anything would begin to be developed to just act as a catalyst for the local economy. So about 6 years ago, the county began growing again. 2013, 2014. And in some areas now that growth has become explosive. If you go out around the LPGA corridor, parts of West Volusia, Southeast Volusia around I-94 and I-95 and 44. So there's a lot of growth going on. And now a growing number of people seem to be opposed to the growth that is occurring. So the question is, do you believe Volusia County is growing too rapidly? And why or why not?
I think in the areas where we're growing as too rapidly, our fresh water is being, I recall when I came here, there were ponds close to where I live that had plenty of water in them. That water has, in recent years, pretty much gone. Kids used to swim in that. It was the retention pond. But in current, it's gone. I know that the saltwater intrusion is coming in from the coast. We've got a plume of petroleum on the west side near in the DeLand area. So our water is being threatened by overdevelopment. I think we need to redevelop some of the items, facilities that can be redeveloped. But getting to your question about, we do have to make sure that we have some sort of growth for workers and that. And I questioned when I first came here, in the Daytona Beach here, GE was here, and we lost GE. So we need to be doing things to bring, and I understand at the time the belief was that the county didn't support GE and GE left. That was before your time, matter of fact.
It was.
But we need to be doing things to bring that type of industry back, or those types of things. I have a background with NASA. We saw the rocket go off this morning, and that's awesome. We got a rocket going to Mars. Awesome stuff. We could piggyback on that and possibly bring some things here. We're not going to be launching rockets from our beaches, but we have industries that would maybe be accessory to them. So we have to be finding those things to bring development, but cut some of the building and the things that are harming our environment. So I would be looking at those things other than environmental building.
Okay. Mr. Brower, same question to you.
Yeah, there's no question that there is a growth problem in Volusia County, and the problem is the way that we're choosing to grow. We're under this umbrella that's called in Volusia County smart growth, and it's just not very smart. We need responsible growth. We need to quit changing our comprehensive land use plan to build in places that we've always said we wouldn't grow in, that we would protect for our future. As you look around the county, right now, Granada Boulevard, Avalon, 10,000 homes. What is that, 34 more thousand cars all on Granada Avenue heading to the beach the same day? We've got Farmtown with 26,000 homes. We've got massive developments going on in LPGA. It's not responsible growth. We don't have the water. I serve on the Volusia County Soil and Water Conservation District Board. We are pumping water out of the ground faster than the aquifer can be replenished. Now, maybe everybody's hoping for hurricanes. I don't think that's a reasonable answer. We have to be more responsible and smarter in the way that we grow. I propose an approach that I call thickening or infill, where we maximize the value of our current infrastructure in our core downtown areas, in your neighborhoods, where we go in and we focus like a laser beam and give a little love to your neighborhoods and raise the value, raise your living standard. We need to grow more responsibly. We are definitely building in the wrong places, and our children are going to suffer for it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Denys,
Go
same
ahead,
question.
ask the question again, Ken.
Well, without asking the entire question.
I got it.
The main question is, do you believe Volusia County is growing too rapidly? Why or why not?
So I'm listening to the answers, and it's interesting because all the examples used here are all in cities. Those are all city projects. They're not county projects. But as far, I'd like to know where we said we would never grow, and we're changing the comp plan because Volusia County Council just February 4th of 2020, we just implemented, we did amend our comp plan and added a conservation element, and that was to make sure we protected our wetland buffer zone inside and outside NORMA, which is our natural resource management area, and made sure that we recognize the county's prohibition to high pressure well stimulation, which is fracking. So Volusia County has a very strong record of protecting our environment, and we just did that with the commercial aviation aerospace overlay zone to just the 11,000 acres identified wetlands and sensitive lands, that environmentally sensitive lands that could not be built on. So the examples used, it sounds good, they're good sound bites, but they're not within Volusia County, they're city projects. And as far as Avalon goes, the only time Volusia can come to the table in that project will be with the Volusia Growth Management Commission. So there's going to be some interesting times. I will be meeting with the developers here shortly to talk with them. They've requested a meeting and I've taken it. And I will be meeting with the manager and with our county attorney on that project. But it's just interesting that let's keep the projects, let's keep it in Volusia County and keep us on focus here. Thanks.
Okie doke. The next question goes to you, Mr. Brower.
Can I respond to that last question?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to point out that everything I mentioned does happen to be within Volusia County. We just watched the Volusia County Council for the last year work harder than I've ever seen them work in their life to convince you to raise your own taxes. We were told there is no plan B. We now know that that wasn't true. There was no plan B. They said, we're going to have to raise your property taxes. That wasn't true. Everything I just said is in Volusia County. The county council can work with the municipalities when they want to raise your taxes. I'll make a promise to you. I'll work with every one of our municipalities to solve every problem we have in Volusia County. We can work together in growth issues. We do have a stake in it. We do have a say in it. And I won't use an excuse of, well, that's the city and not the county. We're all one county and we're all together.
Okay.
Miss, I'm
I'm going to give both of you a chance to respond. Ms. Denys, you go first.
Thank you so much. Well, if you're going to work with the cities, it was the cities that came in resolutions of support for the half-cent sales tax to the county. So the very fact that you said you wouldn't do it, you right then and there have said, cities, you've asked for it, but I'm not going to hear you, and I'm not going to put it on the ballot, and we're not going to do what you asked us to do. The council, whether we agree or disagree, we work with our cities all the time. In fact, with our CARES Act funding, I was the one that made the motion to make sure we got 15 million of that earmarked for our cities. We passed it unanimously from council. So we have a great working relationship with our cities. So I'm not going to let that be diminished, especially in this time of COVID where we're doing so well.
All right. And Mr. Witman?
Yeah, I guess that I clearly want to make that I agree with that we can and should be working with the cities. Some of my proposals that we'll get out a little later are paramount on working with the cities and bringing groups together. My history proves that I've been able to bring conflicting parties together and get a resolution, and we can cover that later. But it is imperative that we're able to work with the cities, and I want everyone to know that that is my goal, is to bring the cities together and do things. Everything is negotiable.
Okay. I'm going to go to the next question, which may lead to more discussion about this question, but and I sort of did this one a little bit. It goes to you, Mr. Brower, and I did this a little bit on the fly because I was trying to come up in my head with a different way to approach this than the way I approached it last night.
Well, this is going to be fun.
Yeah. So, and it has nothing to do with communism.
Oh, good.
There you go. There was discussion last night to the question of do you believe developers have too much influence in Volusia County? Why or why not? And that's really central to this question. But I want to ask it a little bit of a different way because developers definitely do make some large contributions to political races in Volusia County, in our cities, in the state, etc. But I went through campaign finance reports, not just necessarily your own, but for some other people dating back to 2016. And developers definitely made some large donations. So did builders, construction companies, insurance companies, real estate, hoteliers, business owners, doctors, retired people, car dealers, farmers. All of those people made donations that you can go and pretty easily find somebody with one of those designations who made $1,000 maximum donation to a candidate. So my question, I guess, is do all of these people, I should include political action committees because they also make large donations. So are all of them looking to have undue influence, or are just some of them looking to have undue influence? When you look at that, how do you, as a candidate, how do you define that?
Well, I look at Volusia County, I look at our history, I look at, let's just take the comprehensive land use plan. I am a staunch supporter of private property rights. It's foundational to the Republic, it's foundational to our Constitution, it's one of the things that made America the greatest country in the world. But when you buy property, those private property rights do not automatically give you a comprehensive land use change or a zoning change. Sometimes, when we set out comprehensive land use plans, we sometimes miss something. You can't cover everything. So yeah, you could go back and look at what needs to be changed to make it equitable for everybody. But that's not what we're doing. It's a given in Volusia County. You buy a large parcel of land, you're going to get a comprehensive land use. Again, it's in Volusia County. Look at Avalon. Look at all of these large developments. Look at Jimmy Buffett and Latitudes. That it's a critical area for the Tomoka River, where the manatees have a breeding ground. It's affecting our surface water. It's affecting our groundwater. It is undeniable that developers have an influence on politicians. I'm sorry. You'll be hard pressed to find a majority of people that don't believe it. Developers are necessary. I'm not against development. I'm against responsible development. I'm against thickening our core areas and downtowns, as I've stated. I am not. I'm absolutely opposed to the kind of development that we're doing, and it is absolutely led by developer influence on politicians that have been in office for many, many years.
All right, thank you. Ms. Denny, same question.
Thank you. I have been accused of this, and it's very politically hot, so thank you for asking this question, because we're going to go on the record here. You made me do some homework. Since I've been in office, I have had over 2,000 votes. 2,000. Not including consent agenda, counted that as one vote, so because that would have added 30 to each meeting. So okay, over 2,000 votes. So in those 2,000 votes, how many of my votes went, because Maury Husseini, let's just call it like it is the one that has donated to me and that I have been accused of taking funds from developers. So then I went back into the minutes and searched. And you know what? There's 3 projects in all these years. The first one was Plantation Bay, December 17, 2015. It was on the consent agenda. Passed unanimously. I didn't make the motion or the second. The second project is Brown's Landing North. That was March 16th, 2017 agenda. Consent agenda. Passed unanimously. I didn't make the motion or the second. Oh, wait. No, the second it was made by Councilmember Post. The latest one is July 24th, 2018 in Ormond Beach, Verona Lakes, where we just agreed to do that, and they took a dilapidated piece of property and even protected that World War II monument that's in there right now. So I took a look at that, and that is definitely ICI, and you're right, that was July 24, 2018. And so I took a look at that, and guess what? Guess who the motion was made by after 2,000 votes? Councilmember Heather Post. I didn't make the motion, I didn't make the second. There was no quid pro. I've made no motion, and everything that's come before council has passed each council unanimously. So you're hard pressed. If you're going to make that analogy, you better turn it around, because it's not me. I didn't make the motion, any of the motions, or the second. So, okay, I'll come back on that in just a minute.
All right. You both went over, so now I have to let Mr. Witman go over if he wants to. You get an extra 15 seconds.
Fine, thank you. I have been concerned for some time about the amount of money it takes to run for office. So, and I do have that belief that when somebody supports you, you tend to support the people that support you. Now, can you make a direct tie to and a quid pro quo? Not. But when your sentiments, what are your sentiments when you sit there making a decision and you know you've been helped by somebody? And I'm not necessarily talking about the physical and the money, but if somebody is always supporting you in many ways, you would tend, if you have 2 things that appear equal, you're going to err on the side of a friend. I might bring up the fact that it just came to mind about my brother wanting a job where I worked. And they came to me and asked me if I would hire him. And I said, no, well, here it is. If you're hiring him, then you have to interview him, and he has to meet your requirements. If you want to give him a little edge because he's my brother, that's okay, but he has to be able to do the job first. But again, so I would support my brother. I actually was going to write a book that said I would hire my brother, or I would fire my brother. But so you do support people that support you. And the amount of, back to the question though, there's the amount of money that's in it. I am running a grassroots campaign. So if you have the numbers, they're not hard to find. I applaud Volusia County for how easy it is to find how much you raise. And we'll do the best I can with that money. I'm doing everything I can to get out to folks and let them know what I have in mind some of my plans and my vision for Volusia County, and I would hope the voters see that and support me.
All right, thank you. And for the record, you're right, you don't have as much money in your campaign fund as these two. So, but that's okay, somebody's got to come in third, right, on that?
Somebody has to come in first, too.
All right,
Oh, and the money, no, I'll be first, and the
Okay.
money I don't care about.
all right. Let me go to the next question to you, Ms. Denys. The Volusia County Council has appealed the voters' passage of Amendment 10 in 2018, essentially arguing that the county isn't beholden to the decision because we had a charter government that supersedes it. The case has now been hung up for months in the Florida First District Court of Appeal, even as an election looms for the county tax collector position for the first time in 50 years. So this is the question. It's a little different from what I asked last night, but can or should the county withdraw its appeal, drop the whole thing, and move on at this point? Why or why not?
No, I think we have to have a decision at this stage. We're working, as you know, in parallel universe, that we have agreements with our other constitutional officers, with Elisa Lewis, our supervisor of election, and our sheriff, and we did this last meeting just with our tax collector. So we've got everything in position for implementation. But before that amendment, when the amendment was put on the ballot, we found out the county was informed by legal, with the challenge was that, hey, we're a charter county. They said, well, don't worry, should it pass? They didn't expect it to pass. But should it pass, you need to challenge it after the passage. So it's in the hands of legal right now, but I'm surprised we haven't had a determination, by now. I won't agree to go forward with it if it doesn't pass. But I think we need to see it through right now. But at the same time, the council and the manager and our legal staff, we've got all implementation in for our constitutional officers. We've got all of our agreements in.
Okay, and just to ask one point of clarification, so if the Court of Appeal, the District Court of Appeal rules against the county, your view would be drop it at that point?
I personally would not pursue it.
Okay.
But I felt because we are a charter county, we're governed by a rule of law. We're still governed by a rule of law. So because of that and our charter, it was worth taking it forward to get a clarification from the courts, and we'll see what happens there.
Okay. Mr. Witman, same question.
Interesting question. I would support continuing the appeal, but what you have to consider is that the state is who voted for the constitutional amendment. Volusia County did not have enough votes to pass the amendment. They were below the threshold that was required.
That's true.
We are a charter county, so in fact we should be appealing it, but it's the state who did it. It's being litigated, and I will be bound by how the litigation ends.
Okay.
It's that simple in my mind.
Okay. Mr. Brower, same question.
Well, here's what we learned in Volusia County politics. The very best time to start looking at taxes and trying to roll them back is an election year. The very best time to give voters their voice is in an election year, because everything changes then. So I say let's take it. I'm glad to hear the answers today, but the citizens of Volusia County did vote by a majority to pass Amendment 10. It wasn't 60%, but it was well over 50%. Their voices should have been heard. When I'm your Volusia County chair, you will have a voice in the county. That's one of the reasons why I'm running. Now, it was said tonight, well, you won't, you've already said that you won't work with the cities. I'm not going to be elected to represent the cities. I will work with the cities. I'm elected to represent the voters, the taxpayers. I will take what you want, your hopes, your dreams, your desires. I'll take them to the round table. I'll take them to the county council dais. And I will do my level best to convince the municipalities that they also need to listen to you, to your hopes, your dreams, and your desires. That's the role of a public servant. The role of a public servant is to not all get all the politicians together and do what they want to do. It's to serve you and your needs. That's why I'm here. I'm your employee.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat,
Yes.
may I respond?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing about the county chair. It's not a dictatorship. You're a leader and you can't do anything, even as chair, unless you get 3 more votes. You can't even make your own motion. You have to pass the gavel to even be recognized to make a motion. And then you still need 3 more of your council members to make a motion. And at the elected leaders roundtable or anywhere else that you go, you have to have collaboration, certainly among your cities going forward with this. But if it's interesting about the votes, because the one thing that I believe in is let the people vote, and that's what we did. That's what we did with the half-cent sales tax, because we say your voice is your vote, except if it doesn't apply to the issue that you want to talk about. So with the half-cent sales tax on the ballot, what council did, working with our cities, because our cities represent all their constituents, you can't ignore that. They're not individual elected showing up. They all have jurisdictions that they represent too. So to isolate that and say, I'm going to do this, no, it's not how it works. There's no I in team, there's collaboration, and that's what leadership and that's what experience is. So I will always let the people vote and put anything back on the ballot that our cities, if they're all in agreement with, I will agree to do that.
Okay. Mr. Brower, did you want to respond?
Yeah,
to,
I can't let that go. We represent the citizens of Volusia County, the taxpayers of Volusia County. When I'm on that council, part of my role is to convince the other 6 people. I'm going to tell you at the end what I'm going to ask you, all the voters of Volusia County, to do to help me. I think you already know what it is because you have helped me. We have changed votes on the Volusia County Council by making your voice heard on starting with the sales tax, starting with the medical examiner's office, starting with any number of things that weren't going to happen in Volusia County until you spoke up. Part of being a leader is not forcing people to go where they don't want to go. It's taking people to where they do want to go. And that's how I see my role as a consensus builder on that council. You better believe I'll work with everybody else there, but I'll represent you first.
Okay. Mr. Witman, did you want to weigh
Maybe
in
just
as well?
30 seconds quick that says,
Okay.
it's being litigated, it's in court, we can't do anything, and I don't see us doing anything until we hear what the court decides. Then it could be almost that, but then the court will make the next decision, and we'll decide based on what the court decides.
All right. And I think you get the next question. So we'll go right to you. So this is a question, and I know that this involves the city, but there is a county role in this issue. So let me get to it. Daytona Beach's core Beachside. I've said this before, I'll say it again. It ought to be the community jewel. It ought to be the thing that we look at that we're most proud
Right.
of. Instead, it's an area with dilapidated housing, relatively high crime, and little robust commercial or retail development. I've heard highly regarded officials refer to that area as Beirut
Yeah.
more than one time. It's an embarrassment. The problems are decades in the making. It's not an issue of the last 5 years or the last decade. It's decades in the making, and it's not something that anyone really, not city officials in Daytona Beach, county officials who have a role through CRA funds and
Right.
setting those sorts of things, beach driving advocates, community activists. No one has really found a way to sort of create sort of a catalyst and ignite positive change for that area, that if that area were what it is in most cities that are along the Atlantic Ocean, would be a great driver of not just economic development, but tax dollars for this area. So, long-winded, I apologize, but as county chair, what would you do to try to improve that beachside and make an actual difference to it?
Well, here's why I believe in the collaboration with the cities, and because it's in the city, but again, you look to see what the county can do to assist, but it's things we have to work together. I will tell you right now, I don't know enough about all that's going on in that area, but I didn't know a lot about the school board when I was elected to the school board and spent 10 successful years there. So you just have to determine, bring together people that know how to handle the situation, bring together folks that have plans and ideas, and deal with the cities and collaborate with the cities and see what other, there's always a win-win. Another thing that when I was my professional life was always seminars in win-win scenarios. There's always something that somebody else needs. Another city might need something. Don't know. I'm hyperbolizing, but I would bring people to the table and figure out what we can do and how we can make it a win-win situation, county and city.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brower, same question.
It's another great question. Remember, you did a town hall at Henry's Pizza
I did.
on East ISB. It was very well attended. It was an overflow crowd. I was there. I got the 30 seconds to speak, which is all I needed. We heard from all the residents there, all of the property owners. I walked that street after you left with property owners from one end of the street to the other. I mean, property owners from opposite ends. And then we walked the street from one end to the other, because I believe in an approach of incremental growth. It's a strong town approach, where you start off, you walk an area and you do the littlest thing you can do to improve that area, and then you go on to the next thing, instead of spending millions and millions of dollars and then find out, well, that didn't work. So we walked that street and we came up with a plan of some things that we could do to improve what does look like a third world country. You know when it started? It started when beach driving started being taken off the beach. That whole area began to decline. Main Street used to be a thriving area. Broadway, now East ISB, was a thriving business area. The motels were filled. I worked there for the decade of the 70s. It was a fun, vibrant place to live. We've destroyed it, by the way, and it's our beach. It's a Volusia County beach. We do have a say in it. We've destroyed it by chopping up the driving so much that people don't come like they used to. So we need to restore beach access, but we need to start with little steps, with focusing like a laser beam on that core area.
Thank you. Ms. Denny, same question.
We have just had this conversation among some leaders last week, and the truth of it is, the beach side of Daytona Beach properties, real estate, is so undervalued. It's probably the cheapest oceanfront real estate anywhere right now. So how do we get investors there? It's like New Smyrna Beach. New Smyrna was successful because it was organic. It was from the ground up. It wasn't, bring in the big names. So what the answer, we had the Beachside Advisory Committee. Remember that council? We had several appointments, several meetings, worked with the city, worked with different organizations, but you hit the nail on the head, because there's several CRAs out there. There's several CRAs within that particular district. So we probably need to take a look at that, see what their CRA dollars are going for, take a look at that again. But as far as beach access and the motels, all the motels on that area have beach access. Mm-hmm. So that just kind of neutralizes that discussion, but it is an issue. And I do know leaders in Volusia County, it's first and forefront, and it's still being talked about. But how we get there is going to require cooperation, from all the parties. But it's going to take, I don't know what it's going to take, Pat. We've had so many meetings, and it's like the boardwalk, the Echo Boardwalk. That was supposed to be part of it. That obviously, was not the answer either, because nobody bought into it. So we returned all the money back into the Echo Fund with that. So you have to get creative. That was not the creative answer, obviously.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to, I think I've got a question related to beach driving later. We'll come
Was that
back.
the end of the three of us?
That was the end of the three of you.
Can I just add a little bit? Because I do know what to do to create business over there, to draw investors. Right now, we are demonstrating in Volusia County that we don't have any confidence in our beach side, in some of our core downtown areas. The way to drive confidence is for us to invest in those areas, for us to invest in your neighborhoods and the infrastructure that you struggle with every day, for us to invest in your businesses and help them grow by providing good infrastructure, by providing beautiful places. That tells investors all over the world, They have confidence in this area. We don't show any confidence. What we do in Volusia County is we bribe people with your tax dollars to bring their business here. Come beat up Volusia County. They have no confidence in themselves. I have confidence in you, and we can draw investors by showing confidence in our core areas.
Okay. I'm going to allow both of the other candidates to respond as well. I thought I would start with you, Mr. Whitman, if you wanted to.
I'll leave it stand, needing to just
Okay.
bring the collaborators together and figure out what
Okay.
we can do. I mean, we understand it's a problem. It needs to be something done, but it'll take more than just 30 seconds here.
Okay. Ms. Denys, did you want to respond?
Well, the first question is, where's the money going to come from? Where's the funding going to come from? You don't support a house and sales tax. We don't need it. So you've got to find where's the money going to come from? These are really high-priced, high-dollar projects. And to say Volusia County doesn't have any confidence, that is absolutely not true. I have never seen such a strong sense of who Volusia County is and who we are, and the leaders working together with the CEO Alliance and Team Volusia and our cities in getting through this COVID pandemic. Volusia County is strong. We know who we are, and I am not going to diminish any weakness that we're trying to strengthen. It's not the time to be throwing firebombs for 10-second sound bites in an area that you supposedly want to strengthen, because I think better days are ahead, and we will be at the table to work for some suggestions. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. We're going to, you can come back to this discussion later, but I'm going to go on to the next question, and you'll be happy to know it's from a reader, Lisa Belial, and it's short. So she's apparently better at not being long-winded than I am. So this is the question. Do you believe in climate change? Why or why not?
That's the whole question?
That's the question.
Oh, good. Okay. Yes, we can look at it. Climate is changing. What we have to do is look at real science and figure out why. This will I don't know if you're going to ask a question about resiliency, but it goes to that too. Let me ask you a question. For how long do I have to answer this?
You have about 1 minute and 10 seconds more.
How long do the other two candidates have to answer this?
They'll each get 90 seconds.
They'll each get 90 seconds. So it's not that I'm speaking in sound bites, it's that that's the time that you give us. I actually had debates scheduled with Ms. Denys in West Volusia and in Ormond Beach. She canceled those. We could have talked for a long period of time and not been constrained by sound bites. So, but that's what we have here is 1 minute and 90 seconds to talk. We need to look at real science. It concerns me that we don't need to just look at the United Nations and the science that comes out of there, either on resiliency or on climate change, because I don't think that the United Nations has our best interest at heart. We need to look at really good science from the United States. And resiliency, we can look at science from countries like Holland, and there's things that we must do. We have to prepare for the future, because nobody can say, well, no, it's never going to happen. There's no such thing as sea level rise. Nobody can say that. We don't know that. So we have to build a resilient community that is prepared for unknowns. And so my focus is that we need to look at real science and give the people that science and let them make good decisions.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Denys, same question.
Well, we know, I think the question was on climate change and resiliency and sea level rise. We do know we are, Volusia County is struggling with sea level rise. We have areas flooding that have never flooded before inland. And we have done a pretty good job getting some grants from FEMA to help our cities and some of those properties that flood time. I think they have to flood 2 or 3 times in a certain area within a certain time frame for us to step in and buy those properties, and we have. But Volusia County is part of, we just had in July of last year a regional resiliency action plan, and we're with 2 counties. Our other partner is Brevard, and we have identified stakeholders and their input. And our goal is to increase our ability to implement resiliency strategies across all the disciplines, economic development, environmental, social, and we've also included a lot of private sector involvement in that. But even better yet, Volusia County was the first county with our other 8 partner counties in the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council that I served on, and then stepped back, and Chair Kelly stepped in with Councilwoman Wheeler. We have started Regional Resilience Collaborative, and Volusia County was the first one of the 8 counties to sign on. And it's an ongoing project to bring resiliency back to the regional level. And Councilwoman Wheeler right now is serving on that and represents us, but more yet, I mean, we talk about electeds and council and chairs, but the staff is a big part of this. We just set the policy. And Volusia County staff has been very involved in our technical advisory committees with this resiliency group, and we are committed. Volusia County's committed. We're engaged, and we are working with all of our regional partners for resiliency.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Witman, same question.
First, let me, so people don't misunderstand, that I believe in science and sound science, and will always fall back on scientific proof. But remember earlier I mentioned about that retention pond that had 8 foot of water in it. Well, also in the home where we live, we never saw those little skinks running around and stuff because there was plenty of moisture and water around. But when I went to visit friends in Tampa, there were all kind of them, so because it was much drier down there. Now, with that pond gone, we have hordes of the skinks running about. The water's gone.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do about it? So we know it's gone. We know the climate change is the cause. For those that want to deny it, well, the climate is changing. It's getting hotter and drier here. So I propose that we have a plan. We look maybe 20 years in the future and have an idea of where we might, and the needs we might have or need 20 years in the future. That doesn't mean we start doing something right now. It just means that we've looked at it and have a plan. And maybe 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, we review that plan and see, are we getting where we expected? Have we gone further? Do we need to do something sooner? But it has to be a plan. I'm a former project manager too. I know how to put those things together and how you use a Gantt chart. Charts to tell you when you're here, what have you done? Mm-hmm. Have you met that? So I would have a plan that would have it charted out, maybe 20 years, and then reviewed on some incremental basis.
Okay, thank you. The next question goes to, where am I? To Ms. Denys.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
get confused on my initials. I was trying to figure out, I have your names by Mr. and Ms. and
Just call me
everything.
Deb. Call me Deb, and we're good.
And then on here, I've written it down by first initials.
Beautifully done by your wife.
Very done, very well done. Okay, so this is a question. There's a good deal of evidence that aging, I'm not saying all, but aging septic systems in Volusia County are negatively impacting our lagoon system, our springs in West Volusia, and the Halifax River. It's an expensive problem to fix, both for government and homeowners. It's also an incendiary topic for people who have those septic systems, partly because of the expense and just the challenges of fixing it. So specifically, how should the county and its citizens address this issue? Because it's really a county issue as well as an issue for some of our cities.
Well, it's actually more than that, is because the state has mandated some restrictions here and some things that have to happen. Like DeLeon Springs has been identified as an area that needs to be looked at for that kind of contamination, and they have asked us, they came to, and actually DeLeon is their utility provider. It's not even Volusia County, but we have to do such good work with our grant program. They came to Volusia County and asked us if we would help them bring water up US 17, water and sewer up that way to open up prosperity for that whole area. So they came to me, we helped get that through a $2.5 million grant. But we have been doing this all along, and I believe we're working on with our reasonable assurance plan. We started that with our water quality plan back in 2014 and identified septic conversions back then. We have a reasonable assurance plan with our partners with the water management district in our cities. So the key to that is going to be funding, because as chair of the Indian River Lagoon Council, we saw many grants come through that we funded, and what it took was partnerships with the city, and honestly, water quality right now is sexy to be funded at the state and the federal level. It's easier to get the monies. So we have to collaborate with them, identify the need, because it's a very expensive proposal to do that. But before they fail in certain areas where it will be required for hookup, I think it's just a really good position that we're in working with our communities and our agents, partner agencies, to try to secure fundings to alleviate that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Whitman, same question.
I'm going to start off with, let's make sure that we don't solve the wrong problem. I mean, do we actually know where the problem is? We should be doing, again, as an engineer and a project manager, you need to find out where you have the problem. You might do spot testing and then have a plan for there and not need that same thing. Why bring water lines and sewage lines up to areas that might not need it? But that plan I talked about earlier that says you might need it 20 years from now or 15 years from now, that becomes part of it. So you don't run a sewer up then expect everybody to tie in, the cost just of running it, and then the cost of the homeowners. So I would have a targeted plan, how you test individual areas, and then if you find a lot of, and you don't do a lot of testing, you just need small amounts of testing till you find a hot spot. I mean, that seems to be the term today, hot spots. If you have a hot spot, you leave the other areas go, and you go test it larger in that area, and then decide if you have to bring something in there, and then add it to my 20-year plan. I think that's the approach I would take to it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rower, same question.
I happen to live in De Leon Springs. I know my neighbors there well. My neighbors came to me. In fact, we had a neighborhood meeting. It was a Christian church there. I was the only one on this panel here that was at that meeting. And we heard from dozens of people. And the people that lived there were not clamoring to be forced to septic systems. One of the first things that I want to do when I become county chair is I'm going to go to our county manager and say, I want a meeting with Ginger Adair. I think she's brilliant, and I think she is a huge asset for our county. We agree with each other on septic systems. Ginger Adair says septic systems it's a great way, it's a historical way of treating waste because it's low volume. You're talking about putting quarts and pints of effluent into the soil instead of thousands of gallons. It depends on the soil. As Ginger says, if you have a good soil there, it's a very efficient way. It's more efficient than a wastewater treatment plant, which is where a lot of our problems come from. So what I say is that we need to look at the problem so that we don't spend the money on the wrong thing, because there is no, it was said, easy money. There's no such thing as easy money. It's your tax money. It didn't come easy. You're being taxed plenty. So I want to do soil testing. I've already sent a letter to the governor that we need to do soil testing and find out if we need to force people off of their septic systems, which are very efficient, to sewer that is putting effluent into our water bodies. Let's solve the right problem.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
I'd like to respond.
Okay, you can respond, and then I'm going to have to put the pedal to the metal because I want to get 12 questions in, and I want us to get out before it gets dark out, for
We
example.
already missed the storm.
So you go ahead.
So thank you, Pat. We're talking about septic, but the real issue is water quality and water supply. And the state has identified the nutrient level and pollution loads and the daily loads that they're looking at. We didn't decide that, the state did. They pass it down to us, and we work within those state parameters. But as far as De Leon Spring goes in that meeting, he's right. He was there, and that's why then they called me in, because they were a little concerned that somebody that lived there would be concerned and use the word Flint, Michigan in their own community when they're trying to clean up their water supply. And I have a letter here that was sent to the county manager and to the entire county council from the DeLeon Springs Community Association, talking about the Florida legislature's efforts in DeLeon Springs being Florida's outstanding spring and our BMAP, and a list of all of the people that wanted this and signed off on this, and all the parcel owners. So there is a great request and a demand. Don't think there's not in DeLeon Springs for this $2.5 million project. And as far as utility goes, you know, Volusia County, we're only one of 15 utility providers here. This is a very complicated issue. And then McGinnis Elementary, right up the road there in US 17. You know, they have yellow police tape over their drinking fountain because the water is so bad. So this will help that school, hopefully when they open up after COVID, get some quality water up at that school level too. So this is a very complicated issue. So just because I wasn't at one meeting doesn't mean I didn't make the vote to procure the grant for $2.5 million from DEP to fix the problem and not compare it to Flint, Michigan for another soundbite. So you have to come in and you have to try to fix the problem, not continually point out the problem.
Okay, Mr. Barr, I'm going to give you 1 minute to respond.
I don't even need that long, just a little bit. I've been hearing this comment about Flint, Michigan, and I've wondered all along where it came from because I never said that. I was actually at the meeting, and there was a lot of our neighborhood at the meeting, and there was a man that stood up, and he was so concerned he did bring up Flint, Michigan, because it's a real problem, and it's a problem that resulted from bad management. And so, this gentleman happened to have a science background. He was intelligent. He was a concerned citizen. So now it's been cleared up. I know where that came from.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna just ask.
I need a response
Okay.
to all this. You know,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, you go ahead.
If I may. Currently, I am reading a book called The Death of Common Sense. And maybe the state doesn't always get it right. We need to question whether those requirements are really meet what we really need to get to have acceptable water. And there might be other resolutions, deeper wells if they can be drilled. There's ways of doing it, but just because the state mandates it. This is something that I had a problem with the school in Pennsylvania, state mandating things, and we just did not always adhere to what the state mandated. We challenged, and you can challenge the state.
Okay.
The death of common
I'm going to
sense.
ask just a general question to everybody, just to test my own understanding of the pollution in DeLeon Springs and what the great issue is. My understanding is that the issue for the Springs more than anything was, or for DeLeon Springs, was a gas station that it was
Contaminated.
decades old,
Yeah.
that had tanks that had cracks in them that contaminated the soil. Is that correct?
That's
Yeah.
exactly
Part of
right.
it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go to the next question, and it is to you, Mr. Witman. And we're going to turbo through the next four because, because,
Lightning round?
yeah, sort of. Nigel needs his beauty sleep, though. So
Putting the hours in,
there you go. All right,
Kind of
so
for
here's
the
the question. So it was mentioned earlier that there's a developer looking at a project called Avalon Park. It's planning to build 10,000 new homes and corresponding retail west of I-95 in Daytona Beach. The developer has also suggested a $75 million bond partnership to be backed by Daytona Beach, and I think my understanding of it is possibly Volusia County as well. What is your view of that project, that sizable project, and its feasibility right now?
Well, I think first it's a pretty much a done deal. I mean, and I thought it was 3,000 homes, not 10,000, but once you have 3,000 homes, but it's a city project again, and I don't know at this point. Again, the county's involvement, where there's always things, again, we talk, the city needs something, the county helps out, that obviously that occurs. But as county chair, I plan a different approach to this so that we don't end up with another 3,000 home, 10,000 home project. I intend to go back through the zoning changes over the last 20 years and see those incremental zoning changes that have occurred that are just quietly building to the next 10,000 homes. That's what I'm looking for. And I think there's people concerned about that is, where's the next huge building coming from? And it's by gobbling up these little parcels, little zoning change now, 5 acres of land, switch it from being agricultural to or to non-resident to commercial, whatever. And I've seen plots around and I've wondered, plots in the residential areas that say zone commercial, 2 acres. So I'm going to go back and have a team go back through and look at changes over the last 20 years or so and see if there's another one of these large projects building. That's my approach to it as chair. And I'll
Okay.
take that to the council.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brummer, same question.
Yeah, I think I've said it already, is Avalon is just a terrible idea by a really good developer. He builds nice stuff. He's built a nice community in Orlando. This is the wrong place for it. The place that they've chosen to build this, we should never be building it. It's part of our wetlands. It's part of the Tomoka River Basin. It's going to affect our water quality. It's going to affect our quality of life with, if you have 10,000 homes, you've got 34,000 cars on the road. That kind of growth never pays for itself. We've established that in Volusia County. Growth doesn't pay for itself. So the taxpayers are going to ultimately get the bill. They're going to get the bill of a reduced quality of life. They're going to get the bill of reduced water quality. There is no trade-off between our quality of life and water quality and an economic advantage. There's no advantage there. So no, if I'm on a county council, my vote is no for a bond fund for them. If whatever they do, whatever is allowed there, and I don't believe it's a done deal, because this is a political system, and nothing's ever final in politics, because the people have a say, and I want the people to have a voice, and I'll give them a voice on this matter. So it's one of the most disturbing developments that I've seen in our county come up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Ms. Denys, same question.
Thank you, Pat. I think the question was about Avalon, right? Okay.
Yes.
So, again, it's down to private property rights, whether you agree or disagree with it. And again, the project is in the city of Daytona. It's not in the county. I know the city of Ormond is greatly concerned about it. I've talked with their city manager, Joyce Shanahan, and their mayor and other electeds in Ormond about the impact that it's going to have to the city of Ormond. But we take it back again to the VGMC. That's the own Volusia Growth Management Commission. That's the only standing the county has with this. Because of the VGMC, we can look at the density and the intensity and the compatibility of use there. But the only impact we can really control here and take a look at is our thoroughfare roads through there. So we don't have a voice. It is a Daytona project, but I've said from the beginning, I will not support a $75 million bond to sign off on that. That took me by surprise, because number one, I read it in the newspaper, and that is the wrong way to do anything. So the first thing I did was I called staff, and then I sent an email. I said, we're going to have a meeting tomorrow morning, and I want an update on this. And unfortunately, what I found out was what had been presented to staff prior to being in the newspaper was it was going to be a $150 million project, and there would be no fiscal impact to the county. So we were taken back, even my staff was taken back, the manager was taken back when he read that in the newspaper. So it's gotten off to a bad start politically, and it could very well be a good project. I'm going to meet with them. It could very well be a very good project, but even good projects will not convince me to leverage county bond dollars for this particular project.
Okay, thank you. Next question goes to you, Jeff.
He already, just 15 seconds to that. This is not about private property rights. It's about changing the comp plan and zoning rights. With private property rights, I've already said it, are crucial to our republic. Every private property right does not come, except in Volusia County, with an automatic comprehensive land use change. We have to stop doing that.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next question.
Good.
Volusia County has historically had a hard time attracting and retaining employers who pay good salaries with benefits. What are Volusia County's best opportunities for creating those better paying jobs right now?
I think we have to be the place in Florida to do business. And I've talked about it a little bit just in our discussion about East ISB on the Beachside. We demonstrate no confidence. I mean, I don't know how else you can drive down that road and say that local government, county government, Daytona Beach government has confidence in that area. We need to invest in your neighborhoods. We need to invest in your businesses and help you grow with the little steps that we can do to show that we have confidence in our area. That attracts investors. Nobody wants to come to an area that looks like Little Beirut, it looks like it's dying. Or somebody already said that land is cheap there. I'm not sure that's true, but if that was true, there would be people trying to gobble up cheap land, but they don't see a future there. I want to show investors and new businesses that there is a future in Volusia County. So I'm not running for school board, but as Volusia County chair, you're a cheerleader. You're a cheerleader for the whole county. And I'm going to cheerlead and promote that we have vocational training back in our high schools, and that we support our 4 local colleges and universities so that we are turning out good employees here. And then be the lowest tax county instead of the second highest tax county, and invite businesses to come in and be partners with them.
All right, thank you. Ms. Denny, same question.
Thank you. I'm just going to make one comment as far as comp plan change. That's a city change, so that's, again, the county can't control what the city does with their comp plan change. But as far as attracting jobs, as you know, we have been expanding Volusia County very proactively, our commercial aviation and aerospace overlay zone. And we've just come up with a manufacturing site plan. We did that in January of 2020. We have initiated the commercial supply chain with the Bryce Supply Chain, working with our CEO Alliance, Team Volusia, and all of our partners, because we can graduate our students from Embry-Riddle, but they're leaving us. We need the jobs here. We need to bring them in here. And we're working on it, actively working on it and pursuing it. But it's about the widgets for this particular industry. But another industry that's burgeoning here is our pharmaceutical and biomedical companies here between B. Braun and DaVita. There are brands and supply chains that we can expand on, and I know we're actively engaging in, and those are high-paying jobs that we're looking at and working to recruit. And the commercial space industry opportunity overlay, this only actually includes, I think, about 11,000 acres. This is where it can go. That's where we protect the environmentally sensitive lands. But there's a lot of opportunity here in Volusia. You're going to see it. And I'm just look forward to working with all of our partners here regionally. In fact, Senator Wright was down at the Cape this morning with the governor and Frank DeBello from Space Florida and NASA with all the great improvements down there. And I just been appointed by Senator to the Space Advisory Committee. So there's a lot of regional work and regional partnerships going on, and we will get there.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Witman, same question.
I definitely believe in being a champion for the county. That's where it starts. But then some thoughts and ideas to have incubator funds that will start programs. I'll speak back to on the Bristol Township School Board in Pennsylvania, that we had a technical school within our district, in our township, and we had a 2-week about program where the students went to 2 weeks in school, 2 weeks in tech school. When the other townships around couldn't fill the slots, they came to Bristol Township, asked us to use those seats, and we had medical programs, we had housing welding programs, automotive programs, technical programs that children and now graduating seniors could go into the community and have jobs. I would couple this vision then with doing things in the local community to try and encourage small businesses to start with these students now well trained in these occupations, and when we start these small businesses, so it becomes again a plan with an idea. How do you move forward, making sure you get there? You don't start at the end, you got to start at the beginning. I think it does start with something like the 2 weeks about program. Again, yes, we'd have to do it in collaboration with the school board, who is an autonomous authority. But again, in talking and as they see that the county is working with them, the incubator funds might be the catalyst to get it going.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to go to our next question, and we have 2 questions to go before I get to final comments. And this one is to you, Ms. Denys. So in November, voters will be able to vote to continue 2 programs that many believe have helped to protect history and preserve land in Volusia County. One of them is the ECHO program. The other is Volusia Forever. Do you support their passage, and why or why not?
I absolutely do. Number one, I absolutely do support their passage, and I support putting them on the ballot, which is what we're doing, to let the people vote on it. Once we get to that stage as council members, by law, we cannot lobby. I cannot engage and go have a town hall meeting and rally and do all those things. But yes, I very much support it. I mean, take a look at all of our parks, our trails, the things that we've done with some off-beach parking and with our cities. In fact, one thing that we have identified in this go-around that will probably be, should it pass, change in the implementation language, is some of our smaller nonprofits need a little more leeway. I think we may have been too restrictive in the original language 20 years ago with ECHO. So hopefully we will loosen that up and encourage more grant writing, grant requests from our nonprofits. Because if you take a look at it, the first time when the first few grants were huge because everybody was waiting for it, and then we filled them, and then the only ones applying, were some of the larger nonprofits and the municipalities. So I think our community is so much better with Volusia Forever and ECHO, and either way, at the end of the day, I'm going to support letting the people vote.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Witman, same question.
100% in support of both projects. And while the county might not be able to lobby and all those things after it's on the agenda or on the ballot, that doesn't mean that we can't encourage local businesses to get behind the programs. Again, my belief is if you bring people together, explain the issue and the problem and what you hope to, and the vision for the county, you do bring the people around. I think local businesses see the value in trails. Being a runner, I've been a runner on the Seminole Trail for years. The trails and the parks and stuff, definitely, I don't know, I've not heard anybody not in favor of them. So we should get businesses behind them so that it is approved. I would like to see the county doing it some way, maybe through local businesses understanding the county can't, once it's on the ballot, be the champion of it.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Brower,
Yes,
same question to you.
I'll say the same thing that I answer everywhere that I go, because I'm always asked about ECHO and Forever. We need funds to protect our water supply. We don't have enough water for all the growth that we're passing in Volusia County. I've already said it, we're pumping water out of the ground faster than it can be recharged. We have to look at how we're growing, where we're developing. We have to look at that much closer and be more careful and keep our word to the voters. Now, here's what I always say. If you're going to vote for me, vote for Volusia and ECHO, because I'm going to make sure that you know exactly how those funds are going to be spent. I've got the list right here of projects for ECHO. On it is almost $5.7 million that went to the boardwalk. You know how that came about? When you found out about it, I happened to be on Big John's radio forum, and he asked me about ECHO, and he called it a slush fund for the county. And he said they're taking money out of the boardwalk. Now, there's an oversight group for ECHO. They didn't know about that. The money just came out, and then once it came out to the public, and the public heard about it, they said, why are we taking ECHO money for Jim Deneen's boardwalk? So the money was put back. Out of that $5.7 million, we put back 3.3, so there's 2.2. Maybe we'll find out where that money is. But I will point appoint members to that committee. We will start a Facebook page and on the county website where you can see exactly how your money is being spent, because water is the most critical issue in Volusia County.
Okay, thank you. We are to a final question.
Pat, I need to
go ahead.
I need to respond to that, because
Okay.
first of all, it's about Echo and Volusia Forever, not water. I think that was a question, so I guess the answer is only if I'm in charge, I'll go ahead and vote for it. But if either one of us, Mr. Whitman, win, then don't vote for Echo or Volusia Forever. So, anyway, but if you go back and look at the minutes of the county council meeting from May 1st, this is all 2018, May 1st, June 18th, July 10th, July 24th, and August 7th. Go through the minutes and listen. If you don't want to read it, you can listen to it. There's audio there too. Where I challenged the boardwalk continually and made the motion and convinced council to stop that project and put those dollars back into the Echo budget. So that was a project that was, we say we want to fix Beachside, but not that. Well, so council thought outside the box. If that's such a problem, okay, we moved it, it didn't work, we put it back, and as far as Echo goes, we just completed an audit on Echo and Volusia Forever that passed. So if you have some information that our internal auditor didn't find, you should probably bring that forward. But we just finished a very, very intensive internal audit of both of those projects.
Okay, I'm going to...
I need 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and then I'm going to give you 30 seconds if you care to respond also, and then we're going to the final question. 30
Yeah.
seconds.
Okay, just that what came up on the numbers in the $75 million that cut back to $3 million, that's the point I tried to make earlier when I said about budgets. You get in and look at the budgets and see where the money is. So this just drives home to me the point that I said that you get in, when I said get in and look at the budget and find that I was able for 3 years not to raise taxes because I found these little funds that could do something else down the line. But if you, once you knew that, you said, well, we don't have to do that. So I believe it's there. I think Jeff just pointed out that the money's there to be found.
Okay, thank you. And I didn't know if you wanted to respond or go to the last
Just real
question.
quick on the idea of internal audits. We also did an audit when the county council gave you the opportunity to vote to raise your own taxes with a half-cent sales tax, and we were told that audit, that the county passed it in flying colors. Except for two issues that, if you looked at that audit really close, one of them, it said that we're not doing a very good job of looking at things that we could outsource in the county to do cheaper to save your tax dollars. The other thing that it said was that we're not doing a very good job of controlling costs. Look at Orange Avenue Bridge comes to mind. We're not doing a very good job of controlling cost and planning on how we can do that better in the future. I just think we do need to look at internal audits really closely. That's why I say when I'm elected, I'm going to do my level best to convince 6 other people on that county council to do a forensic audit so that we can look at how our money has been spent in the past up to now, and let's restore trust to Volusia County voters.
Okay, I'm going to go to the last question, and it relates to that last comment, and it's to you, Mr. Whitman. So there are people out there who, and I think it's probably true in any community or any county, but there are people who feel that there is a trust deficit with residents for Volusia County government. If you become the county chair, how do you address that?
I guess I'm not sure, explaining what you mean by a trust. You mean a personal trust of the candidates, of the officials and whatnot?
Sure.
Okay.
So it would be, for example, there were a lot of questions. There have been questions related to tax rates, related to impact fees, to the half-cent sales tax, and there is a body of people who feel that they don't trust Volusia County government, not necessarily the council, but the government. If you are on that council, how would you address that?
I'm going to go back to my experience on the Bristol Township School Board, based on and being president of the board. One thing that I did, and if I could be accused of doing anything maybe a fault is that we sometimes spent till as late as 2 in the morning listening to people. And we listened to everybody that came before the board to speak in a cordial, to listen and learn. So we did that, and that's, I'm going to say, my strength. I can bring people together. I'm open. All these times I've been asked to go speak or attend a debate or answer questions, I'm an open person. I'm going to tell you I don't know all the answers. That one thing I learned is that you never lie. You never lie to a customer. You don't lie to the voters. So if I don't know the answer and I don't have a plan, I will tell you that, but I'll give you my thoughts on how I will find a plan, how I'll bring people together to have it work, and then I will ask you to hold me responsible for that. I'll make my pledge to you and ask you to continually remind me of my pledge and hold me accountable to my pledge.
All right, thank you. Mr. Browers, any questions?
One of the things I've enjoyed most about this campaign is just meeting people. We have, my wife and I, campaign volunteers, have knocked on thousands of doors. We started in Oak Hill and we moved north. We've met people all over this county. The first question I get is about overdevelopment. The second question that I get is about trust in county government. They don't trust us anymore. It's a huge issue. It becomes a very personal issue because they'll look at me, they'll talk to me for a while, and they say, you know what, I like you, you have good ideas, but I voted for people before that I liked, and I learned that I can't trust them. You can't spend a campaign season promising people without any doubt that you won't vote to take cars off the beach and then have that be one of your first votes to do it. And so there is a huge trust issue. So here's what I tell people. We have 9 kids. You introduced me that way. I want those 9 kids to be able to live here and grow up here and have a good name. I eat dinner with those kids every night. We still gather around a dinner table every night. They know what I'm saying. They know how I've raised them. They know what I teach about community involvement. I'm not going to ruin their reputation for you. I will be accountable, and yes, we can have town halls. That's my responsibility, is to reach out to you as taxpayers and hear from you. That's what I'll do, to hear what you want, not for me to tell you what I want you to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Ms. Denys, same question to you.
Thank you, Pat. There have been, sometimes there always is, whenever you serve in government, we can always do it better, without a doubt. But it's definitely not been a status quo time. We have replaced the county manager, we have replaced the county attorney, we have an internal auditor, and we have increased impact fees. And if you go back and listen to the minutes again, I'm the one that brought that up. But I keep hearing about the taxes going up. So this is what the taxes going up that he wants you to believe. But you know what? That's wrong. This is what it is. This is what the bar chart looks like. What council just recommended we'll be voting on is a millage of 5.45. This is 6.3189 in the general fund. So it's not going up, it's going down. And as far as the second highest tax county, that may be true if you add in the school board, if you add in the hospital authorities and all of the other taxing authorities. I don't think that's true anymore. It used to be, but I know for Volusia County and what we vote on and what Volusia County, our general fund millage, I think we're right in the middle of the pack. Last time I checked, I think we were 35, 30, 36 like that, but we are in the middle of the pack. So it's not even a true statement. It gives the impression that Volusia County's general fund is the second highest taxed in the county, and that's absolutely not true. In fact, with the taxes, if you look at that, Pat, this is all public knowledge. It is on the website. For if you live in Volusia County and your unincorporated east side and your average taxable residential value is $125,000, your tax bill will go down $106.50. So we're going to look at the facts. I'll talk about it in my closing comments, but the facts outweigh the sound bites. You can say it over and over and over again, doesn't mean it's true. The facts will stand. Thank you.
Okay, and we have reached the part where we have closing comments. And we have gone over time because
It's okay.
everybody has not minded the clock, including myself, as well as we should have. So I want you to stick to your 2 minutes this time. And Mr. Brower, you get the first 2 minutes.
Then I'm going to use a clock.
Excellent.
Okay, I want to be your next Volusia County chair. I need your help to make Volusia County a vibrant place to live. What does that mean? That means that your kids and my kids, when they graduate either high school or college, that they can stay right here in Volusia County, live, work, and play, and still reach their full potential. They don't have to move away somewhere. I want a vibrant Volusia County is a safe place to live. It's a place where every black person, every brown person, every white person, and yes, every person that wears a uniform can commingle and walk our streets safely and with respect. That is why the Volusia County Sheriff's Deputies Association and the Hispanic Assembly of Florida have both endorsed me. They know I will work with people to bring it. We have to come together. We've got to stop this animosity between people. And I have confidence in you, we can do that. We also need to be the leader in environmental responsibility. There is no future in toilet to tap water. There's no future in sitting in traffic. We can accomplish these things. I need your help to do it. And here's a secret that I will tell you. We can bring good jobs to Volusia County by investing in your neighborhoods. We can bring good jobs in Volusia County by investing in current business. Again, I've already said it, that attracts new investors. It's a full plate. I need your help, and here it is. Here's a secret. If I need your vote in the primary, I'm asking for you to elect me Volusia County Chair in the primary, because if you will do that, it will send a shockwave across this county, and you will have the ear of every elected official in this county. There truly is power for you when you vote for Brower. I'm asking for your help. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next 2 minutes is yours, Ms. Denys.
First of all, thanks for the opportunity to discuss in some depth some of the issues that we've talked about, but we keep talking about facts. So my website, debdenys.com, we've added a tab today called Just the Facts, with more details on some of these issues we've talked about and some we haven't, and some audio clips, and of Volusia Forever and Let the People Vote. So, and a copy of the millage. So take a look at that if you would. I am Deb Denys. I'm asking for your vote for Volusia County Chair. I've represented you as chair of the Indian River Lagoon Council, chair of the Metropolitan Planning Organization. I have worked regionally. We can't do it alone. Our cities can't do it alone. Volusia County can't do it alone. So while it sounds good to keep it all within Volusia County, we have got to continue the great pace that we're on. We didn't even get a chance to talk about grants. We have brought in, since I've been on the council, over $400 million in grants across all of our sectors. That's a huge impact for our cities and for our public protection and for environmentalists and everything else that we work on here in Volusia County that we hold dear. So I'm going to continue that. I'm going to work hard to serve you as your next Volusia County Chair, but go to debdenys.com and click on Just the Facts, because we're going to hear something that says, let the people vote. It really does mean something here. So I appreciate the opportunity. Pat, thank you to the News Journal for allowing us this opportunity. And August 18th, please vote Deb Denys. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitman, you get the final 2 minutes.
Again, Pat, thank you for having us here. Thank you for the service that you're doing for the residents of Volusia County. I had a 2-minute, 2-second closing speech planned. Practiced it, but I felt today, after watching the celebration of Representative Lewis' life, that this had to come from the heart. I'm a veteran, served during the Vietnam War. I've been in the Volusia County for 34 years. I've done many things in this county, things you do and you don't do for recognition. You do them because you're serving people. That's what I've done all my life. As the chair, I have a 100-day vision for the county. My first vision is to get COVID-19 under control. We have to do that by getting people comfortable with going outside. We bring the municipalities together so we speak with one voice. And once we have people comfortable going outside, then we can start our businesses back in business. Then we can get children back in schools. Then we can get our attractions on our entertainment going. It's a plan. You have to step from step to step to step, as I've been pretty much harping on all night. You plan things, you look at how are you doing, are you getting there, are you meeting with your expectations? The second thing in my 100 days is justice equality. I plan to panel a citizens committee that will review all our first responders and ensure that we have policies that are being applied effectively to everybody and equally, so that whether you're in Ormond Beach, Edgewater, New Smyrna, west of DeLand, through down to DeBerry, you'll get the same treatment. My third is infrastructure, which I want to address. There's a lot of things in infrastructure, but the particular will be that citizens that have physical challenges can get around, and so I guess my time is up. But thank you again, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Whitman. That is the end of our debate. We do have 2 more debates next week. The debates are on Tuesday, I believe. Did I get that right? I believe we have a debate Tuesday for Daytona Beach
They
Mayor.
are now, it's Tuesday now.
And on Wednesday, we have a final debate up in Flagler County for Palm Coast Mayor. And I hope you'll be able to join us. I just want to say one word before everybody goes, and I mean this. I want to thank all of you and the other candidates who sat down with us this week. Anybody who's run for public office, which I have not, but I've observed it up close. It's hard work. It takes courage. It takes a willingness to sacrifice lots of time, not just to run, but then to be in office. And I just want to thank all of you for your willingness to take part in that endeavor. And with that, we're done. And have a good night.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
the
Thanks, Pat.
opportunity.